Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is JGOD. In today's video, we're going to focus on all the different new things that I learned when I went to go play Modern Warfare early. So thank you to Activision and Infinity Ward for allowing me to go to their studio and try the game early. Luckily, I live locally, so I was just able to drive down there, check out the game, and then come back home. And there is a lot of new stuff within the game that I'm sure the community is going to love. And there's maybe not so many things that they're going to love as well. And we're going to go ahead and kind of go through those things. As you can see on the screen, we're going to talk about the weapons, the gunsmith, the field upgrades, the lethals and tacticals, as well as the kill streaks, the customizations among the characters, calling cards, and emblems. So I have all that for you. In addition, I'm going to talk a little bit about the movement, the mini-map or lack of a mini-map. I'm also going to give you my first impressions of the game, as well as the different modes. There's a 2v2, a 6v6, a 10v10, and yes, a 20v20 game mode. We're going to go ahead and talk through all those. I'm going to put timestamps down in the description, make it as easy as possible. So if you only care about one thing, go ahead and click on that particular area. Also, this is the time to leave a ton of questions down in the comment section. So I'm going to make sure I'm going through all the different questions you guys have in the comment section. So if you have a question, leave it in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to hit that like button. And if you're looking to find your way back to the channel, make sure you hit that red subscribe button, turn it to gray with notifications on by ringing that bell. Go ahead and get into weapons. So in the build we played, we didn't get a ton of access to a ton of weapons. All we had was access to 5 rifles, 3 SMGs, 2 shotguns, 2 LMGs, 2 marksman rifles, 2 snipers, 2 pistols, 2 launchers. So it was pretty basic when it came to the variety. But based off what we saw in the 2v2, we know that there's actually access to more weapons than what we had access to in this particular build. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the gunsmith. And you can see right here, there's different areas that you can equip stuff. There's different weapon perks you can see as we go through. There's different perks depending on what weapon you're talking about. And different attachments. There are a ton of attachments in this game, and they generally come with a pro and a con. When it comes to a perk, they're pretty much just pros. But as we look through all the different other attachments, whether it's an optic or whatever other attachment you want to equip, you can see there's a ton of variety, and there's a ton of pluses and a ton of minuses. And as you can see at the top, you can equip 5 attachments to your primary weapon, and this is without any wildcards. Wildcards do not exist in this game. You're going to have that same attachment diversity when you go into your pistol. So some people may only run 2 attachments because they don't like how the attachments affect the weapon in a negative way. So it's really going to come down to preference, and it's going to add a lot of variety to the game. And at first, it's going to feel like there's way too many options because when you equip an extended mag, there's another extended mag so you can get more ammo, but it's going to slow down your movement speed. And from the playtime I did have, each weapon has about 30 to 40 different attachments, and they all physically change the weapon. As you can see, as I'm going through all of these, the weapon changes as well. So you could really make whatever weapon you want. There was even shotguns with putting on these huge sniper optics. They're just kind of leaving it up to you to decide what you want to do with your weapon, which is actually a pretty awesome feature in my opinion. So in Black Ops 4, we've been used to double spamming the different triggers so we can activate a specialist ability. Within this game, you're going to have a few different field upgrades, whether it's ammo, a recon, a trophy system, or you can actually get special ammo that contains stopping power for 1 magazine. So once you clear out that magazine or you die, you pretty much lose that stopping power. And that's pretty much how these work. It didn't look like these were overpowered in any way. So for the perk 1 category, you can see that we get 5 different perks. One that allows you to hack claymores and allow you to survive a little bit more damage. You got scavenger, tracker, which you've been used to, tune up, which is kind of like equipment charge, double time, which is kind of like endurance. So those are those perks. Then we have ghost, hardline, kill chain, which turns your kills from streaks into additional kills for the next streak. That's what's called kill chain. Overkill, 2 primary weapons, and restock will actually allow you to replenish your nades over time. It says 30 seconds. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. Ghost doesn't require you to move. So it'll be interesting to see how a lot of these perks play out. We have Amped, which will actually help you swap weapons faster. Battle Hardens, which will help you with stun. Cold Blooded works the way it does. Your Vision Pulse when enemies outside of your view see you. That one's kind of like Instinct that we've had before. Shrapnel will actually allow you to spawn in with an extra lethal, and then when you hit somebody, it'll take them longer to actually regenerate their health. And then we have Spotter, which pretty much works like Engineer from the past, but if you actually ADS at that particular object, it'll highlight it for your teammates. Next up is the tacticals and lethals. You can see there's frag grenade, Semtex, Molotov, Claymore, throwing knife, C4, thermite, and proximity mine, which works very much like a bouncing Betty. We get to tacticals, there's a ton of tacticals as well. There is a flash grenade, a smoke grenade, a stun grenade, a stim, a decoy grenade, which kind of makes their mini-map pop up with a bunch of different icons as if people are firing. There's a gas grenade, a snapshot grenade. When you throw that, it'll kind of pop up and tell you where the enemy is. It'll kind of highlight them for you. And then there's also a heartbeat sensor, which has very limited range. And then we were able to see 17 different score streaks. They have a personal UAV, which gives you a mini map, as well as a UAV that kind of passes so you know where enemies are, and a bunch of other streaks that we've kind of become accustomed to over the years in different Call of Duties, whether it's something similar to a Harrier strike, a lightning strike, an advanced UAV, a juggernaut, attack chopper. There's all those types of streaks throughout here. You can see there's a cluster strike, which is kind of like a Hellstorm. There's a Predator missile. There's a lot of different streaks that we're very used to, whether it's a care package. And the thing to pay attention with these is the kills needed at the top. You cannot choose 2 kill streaks with the same number of kills. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what people decide to go with. There's actually 2 factions depending what side you spawn on, and pretty much there is no difference. It's just pure cosmetic. So if you want to look like a certain character, this is pretty much how you'd go about doing that. There was already over 60 calling cards between the standard and the classified. Some are animated, some are not, but that just kind of shows you what some of them are looking like. So another form of customization that we've become accustomed to. And along with those is emblems. You can see a lot of these are animated, so that's going to be a nice change of pace, especially if there's some that you're able to earn directly instead of them being in some kind of form of supply drops, which haven't yet been confirmed nor denied. So when we talk about the gameplay, it's still Call of Duty at the core. And what I mean by that is a lot of times people are talking about it looking like Rainbow Six Siege or maybe Battlefield or something along those lines. And I can honestly say after playing it for about 3 hours, it is nothing like those games. And I played both of those for a long period of time to know that these are not the same game in any way. You can see right there as I went to go ahead and sprint how the gun comes up. That's just part of the double sprint mechanic, where if you double tap that L3 as you're running, you can go into like a super sprint mechanic. There are doors on maps that you can run through. There's a lot of different features that they decided to add, which are kind of like different bells and whistles that you really got to explore and experiment on your own. And even though I played for a good amount of time, it's really hard to know what the game is going to feel like when it comes launch, because you're playing against a ton of other YouTubers who are trying to record gameplay. So they're playing extra sweaty, trying to go for clips. Maybe they're ultra playing the objective. Maybe some are not playing the objective at all. Maybe you're experimenting with the pistol and they're running rifles only. Maybe you're going against Sprat like I was in this particular gameplay and swag. There were a lot of variables to consider when I was playing. And one of the things I did want to talk about, when you look to the top left, you're going to notice there's no mini-map. We have some compass in the middle of the screen where it kind of highlights when people fire their weapons. With that, it was kind of a little bit more challenging, but that goes back to, well, what it's going to be like when I play against people with a little bit lower skill level or medium skill level, or just players that are not top tier players. So these are obviously my first initial impressions. Overall, I had a fun time. I was playing Call of Duty. It felt like Call of Duty. So I'm more than likely going to like the game when it comes out. Getting used to the mini-map, it's going to be one of those tricky things. We'll see how the community feels about it. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Do you think it's a big deal? Not a big deal? Whatever the case is, because learning the maps was another issue. I was playing these maps for the first time, so I'm not really sure how to navigate them, especially without the mini-map for the first time. It's like, oh, well, can I even go to that? Is that usable space? Or whatever the case is. So a lot of those factors play into it. I think with a little bit more playtime, I'll have a better idea on how that no mini-map will work in a regular lobby. So I actually had the opportunity to play the 2v2 mode. It was actually pretty cool. The maps are a lot smaller. They said even in the future they might have a temporary mode where it's 6v6 on those smaller maps, but we'll kind of have to wait and see on that. Obviously launch has to go smoothly or whatever the case is. I also played 6v6. It felt very smooth. I'm going to show you some of these maps as I talk a little bit through this gameplay. And the 6v6 was actually pretty cool. I wish we could actually play Kill Confirmed to see how that played with the actual kill streaks. So there's actually 3 different modes we played within 6v6. We played a new game mode called Cyber Attack, which is kind of like search and destroy, but you're able to revive your teammates if they've been downed. And I didn't actually pick up the bomb, but when I did talk to other people, they said once you pick up the bomb, you're not able to fire your weapon. So it's going to be very interesting how that strategy changes when it comes to the competitive side of Call of Duty. The other part that was a little bit tricky that I'll bring up now is that when you play Domination, it wasn't in halves. So it just went all the way up to 200. Like you saw right now, we went over the 100 mark and it didn't stop the mode in any way. It just continued on. Also, if you look at the bottom of the screen, every time you get a kill, it'll tell you what streak you're on. So it'll say like first, second, third, fourth, fifth. and it just continues to go up. And one thing that was pretty interesting when we were playing domination in TDM, there's actually a spawn delay, which is kind of weird because I've never had that in those game modes. Normally that's pretty much reserved for capture the flag. So when it came to the 10v10 game mode, we actually played two different maps. The first one we played was headquarters, which is kind of like a throwback mode they've had in the past, and it's kind of similar to Hardpoint with a couple changes to the rules. Pretty much a computer pops up on the map and it'll say there's a little bit of countdown timer, and once the countdown timer runs out, you have to go and capture it, and whoever team captures it first, you get those points. And once you've captured it, the spawn stop for your team, and pretty much you hold on to that as long as you can so you can gather as many points. But obviously with the enemy team respawning over and over and over, they pretty much take it back over. Once they go ahead and take it back over, that hard point or computer point go ahead and moves to another location, and it just rotates in a consistent pattern until you reach the score limit. And it was pretty interesting playing TDM in this mode because the score limit went up to 200, so the match felt significantly longer even though there's a lot more players. And for whatever reason, it just felt like the only thing missing from the TDM version was an objective. Obviously when you play TDM, you're not going to have an objective, so everyone was playing real passive, especially since it was a very large map. And I'm not gonna lie, the 20v20 was the only mode that actually felt like Battlefield, and not necessarily the mechanics of the game, but just the way the map layout was. It was a little bit smaller than a Battlefield map, but with 5 domination points, it felt a lot like that mode. I think it's called Conquest, if I remember right from playing Battlefield. Pretty much you capture those objectives, you get points, and it kind of just plays similar as it would domination, but you're playing with 20 people versus 20 people and 5 domination points. And this one I actually liked the mode, but it felt a little bit off knowing that pretty much everyone in the lobby is a good player, which would never, ever, ever happen in a public match. You're probably going to have about 30% that's really good, 30% that's in the middle, and then about 40% that are just bad at the game, maybe learning, just got it for the first time, getting acquainted to the new system, and that would feel a lot more like a natural setting. Since it was a brand new map we weren't familiar with, people were really moving very cautiously and very slow, so it was kind of really hard to make a 100% determination on how that mode would play. There were also a couple different ATVs scattered around the map so you can actually traverse a lot faster. They kind of look like the quads from Blackout, but the maneuverability on them was not great. They need to switch that up. Just go ahead and make a quick phone call to Treyarch and figure out how their mechanics work. I know their mechanics are taken from other games as well. Whatever the case is, get it to work the way it does in Blackout. So we went ahead and went through all those different items. I tried to make the videos as short as possible. This isn't obviously an in-depth in all those different categories. What I want you guys to do is go ahead and comment down below. What are you guys most interested in knowing more about so I can focus on those aspects? I have about 3 hours of footage that I can actually walk through in addition to what you're going to see today from the live streams, from the trailer, and all that type of stuff. If you did enjoy the video, please remember to hit that like button. If you're brand new, you'd like to find your way back, make sure you hit the red subscribe button, turn it to gray with notifications on by ringing that bell. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.